Ubisoft. So hell hath frozen over. I am now agreeing with the Kotaku headline where they say Ubisoft is getting a $1.25 billion bailout from Tencent, which is 100% true. That is exactly what's happening right now. So basically what they're doing is they're spinning off their biggest franchises, including Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six Siege, into a separate subsidiary with a $1.25 billion investment from Chinese conglomerate Tencent. This also allows the Guillemot family to maintain control of the publisher despite struggles and creator share price. They were on a conference call where they basically said there will be a dedicated management team under the supervision of the board, which will all be controlled by Ubisoft's CFO and CEO. And so that is complete fucking bullshit. Anyway, so Ubisoft will continue to manage the consolidated entity. All right. My take on this. As you can imagine, I am not very happy right at this moment. This is exactly what I've been saying for the last fucking 3 years since they did this deal with Tencent to begin with, is that this deal with Tencent originally for the $300 million was to basically secure their ability to do whatever the fuck they wanted with the company, despite the shareholders and the employees. And this is a very, very complex deal that's not closing till the end of the year. So we don't know a lot of details. And in the email, they said that we will hash it out in practice, is what they said, which is code word for we are fucking anybody that we want to fuck with to get what we want. So this is a lot of speculation because we really don't know exactly what will happen, particularly with the leftovers, right? Which we'll call the remainder of the company that is left over. So here's the good news. Now I'm going to start with the good news because there is good news on this. First of all, this ensures that we will not see massive layoffs at Ubisoft, at least in the short term, right? Like they have secured the money that they need in order to continue. So this is in some ways good for the employees of Ubisoft. Also good for the customers that we will at least get 1 or 2 iterations on some of these big franchises, which is great, right? For the consumer. I think this is also really good for Tencent because clearly Tencent's in this for the long game. This is what I keep hearing from investors over and over again. Like they kind of know what they're doing. They're very sophisticated in their approach. And so they're basically doing this to ultimately buy this company in the end. When Yves realizes that he has completely fucked this thing up, he needs to let go, right? Dude, they bought this thing for $80 a share the last time, for $300 million. $80 a share. It's like a 10 or 12 now or something. So they don't give a shit about the money. Is what they have like more money than they know what to do with. And so this is probably a long game to get this thing. So, and this deal is like a masterclass, by the way, and to Yves' credit and his team of navigating foreign investment laws, right? So they are basically monitoring this for the legal thresholds of ownership and control so they don't go against French law, right? The French regulatory system is relatively onerous. And so they are doing everything they can to avoid getting problems with the government. And in some ways, as I've been saying, it's kind of achieves business objectives for both companies, right? Both Tencent and Ubisoft. The bad news, and there's a lot of it, right? This is just kicking the can down the road, right? They're just not doing what they need to do. They're postponing the inevitable, which is either a sale or a complete restructuring of this company, right? And the management. They are basically precluding any other company from ever acquiring this thing, right? It's basically Tencent or nobody, right? So the asset is not valuable only to Tencent now because of their ownership. It's the same leadership, same problems, right? There's nothing changing in terms of how they're managing this company. They don't even talk about it, right? They're just running this company into the ground. And the big thing is that the current shareholders get absolutely rat fucked. Like they are totally screwed in this particular thing. Like they have no value or say, it seems, in this transaction, which is part of the reason I didn't like the Tencent deal to begin with. And employees with shares are totally fucked too, right? Because those shares are going to continue to go to zero, right? And the debt holders will maybe get screwed, but unclear. They may get paid back. It really depends. That's really unclear at the moment. So
hold up. That's, if I'm understanding this correctly, the shareholders of Ubisoft are about to lose their most valuable assets, and it's being acquired by a subsidiary, which means they should be compensated in some way, right? Like they're not going to get zero. They got to get something out of this, right? No, you can't. Eric, wow. That is not possible. That is actual robbery. If you're telling me that they basically just broke into the house, stole the crown jewels, and are now walking away, that's got to trigger a million court cases. There's no way There's no way there can't be litigation if that's the case. That's unreal. What do I get? Ubisoft fucking mobile now? Is that what I get? I get Calligraphy?
Let's relax. Green Panda. Let's.
Is that your safe word, Mishka?
Yeah. So what was written by some of the coverage on this, but this is also very unclear. I want to be clear, is that they likely are reviewed and consulted with the French government, the French Direction Générale, whatever, DGT, in advance. In order
you
to
say it with a beret, it's more convincing.
In order to get like not approval for this, but they kind of implied that the government's already looked at this and agreed upon it. Otherwise, yes, they would be worried about getting lawsuit. First of all, this shit would be so fucking illegal in the U.S. Like this could never happen in the U.S. Like the $300 million deal could have never happened in the U.S. Like I said last time, like this is fucking criminal shit. Like in most countries, like in the free world. Right?
Where's the uproar then?
In capitalism, you mean?
yeah. Anybody anybody with the capitalistic systems. So here's the rant. Here's the real rant on this, right? This is like corporate malfeasance, right? Like he's had nearly 40 years of power and he's still orchestrating every major deal to ensure that the family stays at the helm. Like this is what he's doing.
Can we get a HBO series out of this?
Yeah.
Is this our Succession?
Succession in French.
Rather than exploring like a clean sale or a merger or a restructuring that actually could benefit shareholders, they have basically structured these defensive maneuvers over the last few years. First with Vivendi, when Vivendi tried to acquire them, and now with Tencent. And so basically, in essence, Yves is like subordinating shareholder values and employee welfare, ultimately, like longer term, in order to like maintain his personal legacy and control. And obviously, I've been saying I'm very critical of him over the years is that doesn't know how to manage this company. So Bobby Kotick, I think, was in the exact same position to some degree in this, where he went through a really tough go, right? And when he was confronted with like these impossible odds, he did what was best for the shareholders and the company, and he sold it to Microsoft, right? Rather than like suffering through this bullshit, right? Even he, who's an egomaniac narcissist, knew that his time was over, right? And in a podcast, he actually said that he was worried about like other competing things. But Yves has become like the Gaddafi of the gaming industry, right? He wants to hold on to power at all costs. He's like Franco of Spain, the Emperor Palpatine, dude. Darth Sidious himself, he's playing this long game to stay in power. He's like the Julius Caesar, dude, of gaming industry. He's like dictator for life. It's like crazy, like long live Caesar.
Are you Brutus in this analogy?
I don't know. Fucking Eve, dude. Just let it go, Like, anyway, that's all I got for this.
It's so mind-blowing that, like, again, in what I said earlier with read the room, it's like, why don't you elegantly craft this because you could say, hey, we're getting out. You set up the shareholders, you set up like players, and you're like, this is, you're John Elway to use an NFL term. Well, actually, they're not even winning right now, so I can't even use that analogy. But like, this is like so power hungry, power grabby. Again, if I'm a shareholder, not to shit on what's left, but like, honestly, what is left? Like, what is left? What is the value of those shares? If I'm an employee that you convinced to go, if I'm an employee, does my stock change to new subsidiary if I work on
do you think they
Assassin's
give stock?
Creed?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, do they not? I guess I don't know.
I assume if they do this type of stuff, they wouldn't give stock. Like, that doesn't sound like a company that gives RSUs.
All these details are unknown at the moment. So it is possible that the employees will get shares of the new co, like you would hope they would anyway, but we don't know. The stock has gotten crushed again. I mean, it's already so crushed, like, to be clear, like they're giving $1.2 billion for a company that's only worth $1.5 billion, right? So they're literally, I think they're getting a 25% ownership. So they're like, I think paying 4 times or 3 times what the company is actually worth with this investment, Tencent. Again, Tencent could give a shit about the money. It's just about the long game.
Don't French startups lose then? Because if I'm a French startup and eventually one of my outs is going to be to IPO, if I'm an investor, I'm looking at this, I really need to build this into the price of every single French company that basically I really can't sit on the board. We don't own it. And I could be robbed at any moment, right? This depresses the whole French ecosystem.
Dude, anybody that starts a company in France has got to be out of their goddamn minds. Like, there's just no reason to ever. I don't Homa, fucking Voodoo. You guys are nuts. Absolutely nuts. Just
Can they list and elsewhere though? Can they list on like the New York Stock Exchange?
In Monaco?
So
Monaco?
I guess we need a lawyer on board, but like, can they be governed by another? Like, why wouldn't you always just?
I'd rather be in Nicaragua, dude. I'd rather be in Nicaragua than this bullshit, dude. Fuck. This is crazy. This is so crazy.
Oh my god!
I've never seen anything like
founder
this.
friendly? To me, it sounds like founder friendly.
No, that's true. That's true. Employee and
so
founder friendly.
You should start a company in France because it's incredibly founder friendly. You can do whatever, even if you're public. Do whatever. Just sell assets and then leave a corpse to the investors.
But all the upside is gone, right? All the upside is gone. All the shareholder value that you're trying to create. All the it's gross. It's criminal, in its own way.
Maybe this is a dumb question, but why not do it in reverse and keep, I guess they have to have a new company to get the new valuation. Why wouldn't you get rid of the spinoff is all mobile and all the other stuff and you keep the crown jewels in the original one?
This is why it's so criminal in a way, is that if you own too much of a company within France, then all kinds of regulatory problems happen. And so by doing this with a subsidiary, it circumvents those rules. And so if they were, and so it's the change of control provisions or something within with the government is, so rather than doing the getting and controlling interest, which then would create a huge problem for them from the French government, they did this to circumvent it.
Okay. So this is their sneaky side quest solution to do the spinoff.
The spinoff deal basically avoids triggering the foreign control concerns from the French government.
That's how they could have Tencent do it. So basically, this can never be sold again because no one's going to ever want to give the multiple to buy something. So it's going to be 10 cents for life. I guess that's what you're saying. Well,
they're prohibited from selling it in 5 years. So they have 5 years to figure out what to do with this thing. Anyway, we'll get more details over time. But I'm actually at the point where I'm not covering this thing anymore because it's so fucking dastardly. It's just not even worth it, right? Really? I'll cover the games, but these guys are just despicable. Absolutely despicable. And Tencent's not despicable. I want to be clear here. Tencent's being brilliant at this thing. They're just the puppeteers, and they just are doing whatever it takes in order to get as much ownership as possible. They're doing the smart thing.
So what is their angle though, right? Are they vultures just waiting for the animal to die and to eat its carcass?
Basically.
Is that
picking up IPs.
Yeah. I mean, they pick up some amazing IPs that may or may not have any valuable.
They're feeding the brothers drug to have them OD and then take all their assets. This is also fucked from Tencent's perspective, right?
I'll give you an example. So they spent 200 to 300 million. I can't remember exactly when for that initial investment in order to get access to some of the IPs for mobile, right? And what I'm hearing from sources is that those games that they are building for Ubisoft, they're not even focusing on those. They don't give a shit if those games ever come out, right? It's not a focus, right? So again, they are in the long game, dude. They are long term on these type of investments and keeping these guys alive and building up their ownership and circumventing all the rules and regulations around what French have done. And so maybe through this subsidiary, they'll be able to actually acquire those assets that are the most valuable ultimately. And the French government is going to be screwed too, I don't fucking know. You don't know, but the Tencent guys are brilliant.
What's interesting is, so remember how we talked about NetEase actually divesting from Western studios recently? Yeah. And, NetEase going through that cycle of, we want to buy Western, now we want to get out of it. So is Tencent's idea here kind of what NetEase was a year ago, which is maybe getting some of these AAA teams would allow us to expand, in Western markets? Do you think that's kind of at play? Because you just said that they don't give a shit about the mobile, that Assassin's Creed game didn't launch.
No, the game theory here could be that they want to just acquire the licenses, right? And they want to develop the games themselves and shut everyone else down, right? That could be the end game, right?
Yes.
Which actually makes more sense because then they can have teams of thousands of people building out Assassin's Creed in a more modern way. And then, Ubisoft just goes away. They just expire,
So rather than do a licensing situation, are these licenses worth it though?
Yeah, Genshin Impact, Ass Creed. Let's go, baby.
I need to understand who's going to make the movies. I mean, the Division movies and
Someone call Michael Fassbender. Get him on a retainer.
I think we're done, but I just want to say much respect to the French founders. Very much like visiting Paris. I don't agree with anything that Crest said about France, Paris, or anything.
I'm just kidding,
related.
dude. If you have a multi-billion-dollar company in France and you have to work like 30 hours a week, fuck, dude, you're living large, dude. What am I? I'm just complaining. I'm just like, I'm jealous, fucking jealous. You know, like these voodoo guys, the Homa, like they're living large. They don't give a fuck, right? Like, good, you know.
Yeah, vive la France.
Banana Republic.
Oh God, it's not a banana republic.
It's past our due date.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Thank you, and see you next week.